So former Government Communication and Information System CEO, that's GCIS CEO, Mzwanele Manyi, has been named as one of the first enablers of state capture. The Zondo Commission report questions Manyi's appointment as CEO of GCIS and his subsequent dealings with the Gupta-owned newspaper, The New Age. The report says during his 1.5-year stint as government spokesperson, more than 8 million rand in advertising was awarded to the publication. The former GCIS CEO and the current Jacob Zuma Foundation spokesperson, Mzwanele Manyi, joins us now via our video link for his side of the story. Mr. Manyi, a very good morning to you once again. Thanks for joining us on the AIM report. For the sake of clarity for our viewers who might think that you're going to comment on what's in the first part of the state capture inquiry report around former President Jacob Zuma, you are not able to talk about that aspect of who you speak on behalf of at the moment, right now.
Yeah, no, right now, yeah, indeed, because that report is all about Zuma from beginning to end. So obviously the lawyers are still studying that report. It's very premature to even think there could be a response from that end. But mine is only a couple of pages, so I'm able to deal with it.
A couple of scathing pages, aren't they, with the state capture inquiry chair saying that you are one of the first enablers of state capture during your time as GCIS CEO.
Yeah, very malicious, including your intro is also malicious as well, in that my tenure in GCIS, although initially they questioned it in the report, it has been cleared up. Minister Baloy had gone there, it all got cleared up. So for the fact that even in your own intro, they are still characterizing it as it's being questioned, when in fact it's been settled even in the report. So it means your intro itself is malicious, number one. Number two, even the 8 million that you're talking about in the first place, in the report is very clear that that 8 million was over half the period I was there. The other half was when I had already left, but all making it my problem. So even your intro is very problematic. But to put that aside.
So to clarify the amount, can we just clarify the amount and clarify some of the things that you're saying there this morning? So you occupied the position for 18 months. During those 18 months, the New Age newspaper was paid 6.3 million by GCIS. That was between 2011 and 2012. Is that correct?
That's right.
And then the second figure of 8 million, that was during your second year in charge, where TNA benefited by more than 8 million rand. It was, obviously you didn't complete your second year. You were there for 18 months.
Yeah, that's very important. Yeah. Yes. So I left midway. I left around August. The year finished the following year on March. So that 8 million is up to the period where almost half the time I was not even there. But we are all making it as if it's all my problem. But let's move on. The issue here, firstly, I'm arguing that Zondo Commission has been very malicious on my part. They've called me an enabler. Now, if you go to their own definition of what an enabler is, and you see if I tick any of those boxes which we should make an enabler, you will see that they've just decided to just smear me. Because being an enabler in terms of their own made-up definition would include things like coercing staff and doing all kinds of things to pressurize your people down there to do things without even you saying something maybe and all of that. But none of that happened at GCIS, and he's not sitting there with any report that during Manyi's time anybody was under pressure to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No such a thing, but he just calls me an enabler, purely because Maseko said he did not want to be an enabler, and he was replaced by Manyi, and therefore, automatically, because I don't want to be an enabler, Manyi has taken over, therefore Manyi is an enabler. What nonsense is that? See, so that's the first thing that I object to very strongly, number one. Number two, the notion that I paid 6 million and whatever, and all of that, as if I took GCIS money and put it into areas it should not have gone to. That, again, is factually incorrect. Those monies that went into the New Age are monies that were decided to go there, not by GCIS. It's monies that were decided to go there by departments, client departments of GCIS. GCIS was like a media shop. So people come to GCIS with their money signed for. They say, Manyi, here is my 1 million. Put it in the new age. This is the department saying this. Now, then GCIS, all GCIS does is to collect all those requisitions, shall we say it away. Those requisitions with their monies and everything, and then we go and negotiate for a bulk discount. That's what GCIS did. But it's not a GCIS decision to say it must go to New Age, it must go to Sunday Times, it must go to Sowetan. That decision is taken at a primary level, it's taken at a department level. So why is it made a GCIS problem? And by default, my problem.
Can I come in there? Because we do have limited time to have this discussion with you. I want to get through a few more questions as well.
Sure.
So what the report says is, and it names the former GCIS CEO, the person who preceded you, Themba Maseko, it names his testimony in prefacing your involvement in the spend at the New Age newspaper. So it says, Themba Maseko rejected an instruction by former President Jacob Zuma to assist the Gupta family. And the report then says, it's very strange that when you were brought into that position, that suddenly there was no person standing in the way of this advertising spend going to a Gupta organization, the New Age. The other big issue is that it was a lot of money to pay to the New Age newspaper, given that there were no known readership or circulation figures for TNA.
Yeah, a couple of things. One, I think it's a misguided summary, number one, because first and foremost, Guptas did not have a line of sight into GCIS. No one spoke to them there, really. The line of sight they had was with, maybe if they had any, would have been in the departments. This is where budgets came from. So, the notion that when you are a GCIS CEO, you can do what Themba is purported to have done is a lot of nonsense. He could not have done that even if he wanted to, because it's not his call as to which way money goes. It's the call of the DGs of the other departments. It's a very misleading information that is doing rounds, that is in the report that you've just quoted, as if he was there to block. He couldn't block because it's not his call. If a DG from a client department says to you, I want this money put into the New Age, you can't say, with powers vested in me as a CEO of GCIS, I refuse. You can't do that, you know. So this notion is totally wrong.
So you're saying this is incorrect.
And number one, wait. Number one. Number two, the issue of circulation figures and all of that, that is an arrangement. This ABC, Audit Bureau of Circulation, at that time, that thing was owned by a cartel of newspapers, as it were, who had put in all kinds of artificial barriers to make sure that people don't get to be used. So when I got in at GCIS in the first place, a lot of community media was not getting any support. Therefore, I had a duty to, and I don't apologize for this, I had a duty to make sure that community media and smaller media get the support. And in GCIS, there was no policy to say you must therefore have ABC figures and all of that. That was an arrangement of the cartel outside that wanted to make barriers of entry. And this is why when I got there were huge complaints in the community media space that are not getting any support from government. If government had insisted on ABC, on everyone they had spent with, not 1 cent would have gone to community media in particular. So this thing about ABC, as if you have not looked at that, you've done anything wrong, is wrong. There's no such a thing, because it was not government policy to do that. It's still not.
And in fact, in response to what you've just said, the inquiry chair, Justice Raymond Zondo, put it to you when you responded in the same way you've just done to our question here on the channel, that daily publications, because you talk about community media right now, right? Daily publications such as the Daily Sun did not experience the same generosity as TNA, but they had established numbers, though.
No, that's not community media. Daily Sun is a mainstream media.
But they had established numbers. That's the question I'm putting to you. Does it make business sense to spend government money with an organization that does not have established numbers?
Yes, it does, because we are a government that is driving development. If you are a government that is driving development with a transformation agenda, you would know that there are some startups that are coming that must be supported. You would know this as government. Now, if government was to decide to say they are not sensitive to startups, when you start on day one, you must have your boots shining, your tie up and everything. Government would not be able to support small business. This is exactly the problem with transformation in this country, that people on day one are expected to be up and about. That's not how it works in government. Government is a development agency. Government even has an institution called MDDA, which is there to support community media. And all these requirements that you're talking about are not a requirement for government. It's just the barriers of entry by the private sector. And right now they're using this Zondo report to rubber stamp their authority, just to make sure that even in future there should be no entry, there should be no support to developing business. This is the whole strategy aimed at impoverishing particularly black business, because with this kind of an approach, no black media owner will ever see the day of light, because on day one they will never have these ABC figures that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So this is a strategy to cut them out. Yes.
Yeah, I hear your point, but you talk about impoverished black businesses. I don't believe that the Gupta family falls under that umbrella. So the question to you is, how did this spend with TNA benefit government and support the work of GCIS, as you say?
Yeah, number one, the call gets made by the departments, and the value proposition that TNA would have put in the departments. And part of what they used to say is that when you open a new age, you can see the entire country, different provinces and all of that. And because New Age was reporting largely government work, as it were, so government departments saw the New Age as almost a leaflet of government where their work gets displayed, because the rest of the other newspapers, they only report only when something is wrong. When something is right, the other newspapers don't report, but New Age was reporting these things. So government departments saw value in that. So that call was not made at GCIS, was made at the departments. So departments saw value in it, and therefore they wanted to spend with them because it answered their strategic objectives as different departments. So that's what they did. And all the money that was spent to TNA, there is not one person that is saying 1 cent of that money was spent irregularly. There isn't that complaint. The only people that are complaining is media that are saying this money was spent with people without ABC because they wanted their barriers of entry to be effective. So at GCIS, I didn't care about these barriers of entry of ABC, because I was a government official that was driving the government program of development. And whether you are small media, medium-sized media, you don't have these fancy ABCs, it didn't matter, because government strategy, government program was to ensure that there's diversity of voices, and therefore all these other up-and-coming companies that were starting had to be supported. That was government strategy. So what is wrong with it? Why is doing government strategy called capture?
Mzwanele
Why
Manyi,
is that?
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for. And in fact, this is what you explained to the state capture inquiry as well, when you said GCIS was merely an enabler department. Of course, Deputy Chief Justice at the time, Raymond Zondo, saying that he read an entirely different meaning into your term, using the term enabler.
You are very wrong.
Saying it was in fact an enabler of state capture. Mr. Manyi, thanks for your time this morning on the show.